came out. The final part. We talk about ITV. I understand, and obviously it's your employer, so But I do want to ask you these questions. Like you say, when you first started in the betting ring, I remember the first day. I can't remember what it was now. You were going up to the bookmakers, and it was a lot of interaction there. And since then, there's been a lot of interaction with the bookmakers. All of a sudden, it's stopped. And I worked for a bookmaker who there was a lot of interaction with, freelance for them. Do you think ITV? Well, they obviously have stepped back from the betting ring. Is it because betting is sort of frowned upon these days? Is it because why do you think it is? And do you agree with it?
Look, horse racing is about betting. So betting for me is always the key aspect. Horse racing doesn't exist about betting. It's the most important part of the show from the point of view of most of your viewers are having a bet. Now, obviously, the horses are important. They're fantastic, beautiful creatures. The stories are important. But, if you cancel the betting, you lose all the people who are interested in the horses and the stories. That's the simple truth of the world. But having said that, I understand. I mean, I don't know all the exact reasons. Like, I'm not someone who gets taken into ITV meetings. Like, I'm not talked to. I don't have any say in what goes into an ITV show or anything like that. But I think there are a few things here that did make sense. Firstly, in the last couple of years, which is what it's been, as we know, people are finding it harder and harder to get a bet on. And if you're speaking to an audience that are struggling to bet, having someone wandering around a ring and saying, someone's just had 10 grand on this and 5 grand on this and 3 grand on this, for all that you can still do that on a racetrack, that sits uncomfortably. The other thing is, with the cost of living in the last couple of years, I think it sits uncomfortably talking too much about those kind of sums of money to an ITV audience who, like horse racing, but are struggling away, sort of thing. And this was a sport that helps them. The other thing you have to remember is COVID hit in as well. And, I went from being the betting person to a reporter during COVID. That was really the time it really changed. And I think, that worked for ITV, because I like to think I'm quite good at that job. It works for me because that's the job I've always wanted to do. And also during the betting ring, I lost my voice a lot, because although people would say, why is he shouting at the telly? You can't hear anything in the betting ring. I couldn't hear anything in the earpiece. And by the end of almost every shift, I'd lose my voice. It was hard work, proper hard work. When I say hard work on your voice. Like, I'd go home and gargle for hours after hours to be able to do the next day, say at Royal Ascot. If you got through Tuesday, Wednesday, to do Thursday, Friday, Saturday was hard. So from a personal point of view, I was very happy with the situation. And I think those were the main reasons. There is no doubt now there are less people on ITV programs than there were when we started as well, because TV has been hit financially just like every other organisation. And look, it's hit me. Like, people might think, I did every single show just about. So if I was doing every show now, I'd probably be doing 130 odd shows a year. I do 65 days on ITV now. So effectively, I'm doing half of what I would have done if I'd stayed in the betting ring. But what I would hope is that I bring much more to the time. Again, obviously people will write comments underneath this and say, hey, he's rubbish. But I would hope now that I talk to people, jockeys, trainers, owners, the participants, in a different way to most other presenters. That's what I think.
The ITV team, there's a lot of big personalities. There's a lot of different types of personalities.
The wrong ones, you mean?
Well, but you think of every single person on there, that there's something unique about them.
Yeah.
Is it a tight-knit team?
So the team, is it a tight-knit team? It is in many ways, but the team has changed, because again, when we started, it was the same team every show. Now it's almost a different team every show. Like, I would do almost all the opening shows. Now I rarely do opening shows. So it's changed. There are more presenters than there's ever been. And there are reasons, I think, for that. I haven't discussed it really with the bosses. It would be probably wrong to discuss my thoughts because I might be completely wrong. But, you know, I get 65 days. Probably I used to go over that a little bit and you just get paid extra day. Now you don't go over what your number is effectively. So there are no sort of like bonus days, I guess you'd see them, or you know, what you might consider almost double time. And there are a lot more presenters. You know, we've got a lot more people now than we had when we started. So the team is different. Like, it's just different now. You never know who's going to turn up at a meeting effectively because there are more presenters.
So are you in effect in competition with each other to get more work? Is it that it works?
Whatever any TV presenter ever tells you, like, I would like to think that I have relationships with all the people. I actually was the person who emailed the boss and said, I think Megan could turn into a really good presenter for us. And I did that, like, got the email, so there's no second to that. And I said to Meg, I'm going to do this. And, you know, she will progress, I'm sure, and, you know, gets better all the time, as we all do, hopefully. But yeah, everyone's got, look, every presenter, like I didn't do the 2,000 Guineas Day or 1,000 Guineas Day for ITV. I cannot tell you how gutted I was. Like, I think I get a great tune out of Aidan O'Brien. I think I get a great tune out of Charlie Appleby. And they were the most likely winners of that classic. And I would have loved to have been involved. But, you know, you get other things. And you just have to, what you have to do in this job, and I've probably said this once already, is you have to go on every single shift and remember it is TV and you are there to perform. And that doesn't mean being fake, it doesn't mean put on an act, it means you are there to perform. You're not there to read out the Racing Post. You're not there to, you know, just tell people the names of races or whatever. You are there to bring something different. And every presenter on that show should go in there thinking, how can I bring something different to this show today? What can I do today that no one's expecting? And if you go into every show, that's how I go into every show. That won't be for everyone, but for me, that's what it's all about. Every show is showtime. And I actually think that, although I failed in my pursuit, mainly because I was, well, no, anyway, let's forget about that. But as I failed in my pursuit, I actually think commentators should be like that as well. I think we go down completely the wrong route with commentators. Every one, pretty much, of the top commentators, when they're interviewed or they have articles about them, will say, you know, they're an accompaniment to the horse race, that they shouldn't really be heard. I mean, for me, that is 100% the wrong way to look at it.
Well, what did happen there then? Because I remember you commentating.
I wasn't probably very good.
But you did it a few times though.
But I was being judged by people who were always going to hate the way I was commentating.
So who was judging you?
Doesn't matter, does it? They weren't going to like, I mean, there are lots of young commentators out there now, but they sound, I'm not being rude to them, but they mostly sound roughly the same. Like, if I said to someone, okay, pick out the one commentator who's completely different to all the others, like, I wonder what their first name would be. And it's not a criticism, because they're all brilliant at what they do. Please, no one get me wrong here. Not saying they're not good, they're all amazing. But I felt there were, like, I feel, for instance, there's a roster on the commentators. Like, there are 2 or 3 commentators who should be only calling the classics and Royal Ascot and things like that. Like, it's just obvious. Like, there shouldn't be a roster that everyone gets a go at doing some of these. Like, these are moments that should be marquee moments remembered for life. Like, I don't know anyone whose favourite horse race isn't usually the commentary is part of it. I mean, the World Cup from '66, they think it's all over. Like, the commentary is almost bigger than the goal. You know, Dawn Run, the mare's going to get up. Like, those moments, the commentary is the key. And I'm not talking about making up lines beforehand. I'm not talking about having it all written down. I'm just saying that you know, if a horse called Hey Jude wins a Cellar, why can't the commentator sing Hey Jude in the final furlong? Not one of our commentators would ever do that. They would be scared senseless of Twitter meltdown, of boss retribution. But why? Why? Whereas in America, you get these brilliant moments in their commentaries where, you know, in the past you've had, I remember the great one back in my stateside day with Compo was a horse called Arr. And that was the name of the horse, Arghhhh. And the whole way around the commentator went, and in third place it's Arr. And it was fantastic. Could you imagine any one of our commentators doing that? And the answer is no. And the question is why? And I trained, and I know why. Because they're terrified. They are terrified of doing it. And I cannot for the life of me understand. If I was training commentators, yes, I fully appreciate now as everyone's saying, yeah, everyone would turn the sound down. I get it. You won't like this idea. But I would tell every commentator, look, any moment that you think there's a commentary that you can, again, go viral, make the world look at this sport, I would say take it. Take it with both hands, and you won't face retribution.
Right, now we haven't got time to go into this in depth because we've only got a few minutes left.
Affordability?
None of that. You've talked about all stuff like that. You did the dancing on ice thing, which didn't turn out well for you.
Sad.
But you've talked about how much you love horse racing. If dancing on ice had gone totally the other way, and all of a sudden you became the next Ryland, would you have turned your back on horse racing?
No.
So you'd have done both?
Yeah.
You think they would have been?
Yeah.
You
I've always wanted to be a quiz show host. Always. When I say always, since probably the age of 35, I thought quiz shows. Because I think I'm. Look, you have to think what you bring to the table, and I hope in an interview like this it doesn't sound big-headed, but once you get to a certain age, like if you make cars, you know you're a mechanic, yeah? You can fix a car. I think I know what I can bring to the table, and I think I could bring terrific stuff from people in a quiz show, like the contestants I'm talking about here. Like anyone can do a quiz show effectively, but quiz shows are governed by agents, and if you're not in an agency who have those group of people who host certain things, you'll never get in it. And I'll probably never get another offer from ITV again. Well, I mean, I did audition for Dancing on Ice. I wasn't just given it. I was up against other people. But effectively an individual didn't want me on Dancing on Ice and he got rid of me, and that was it.
And is that a bigger sort of TV, a more scary place than the horse racing?
It was. Look, ITV Racing provided me with the biggest moment of my career, because as I say, terrestrial TV is the be-all and end-all for a TV presenter. But the Dancing on Ice opportunity was, on a personal level, a catastrophic failure. It made no difference to my life, other than personally, catastrophic, because what was wrong with the first show, which was mainly technical, what was wrong with it could have been solved so simply. And as I've explained to people before, I emailed the producers, I listed 5 things. I said, if we change this, next Saturday will be amazing. I got no response, and then I was sacked on the Thursday. And my racing producers, my bosses effectively on ITV Racing, they were absolutely just, you could not wish for better bosses. They sat me down, because they were brought into my sacking room, horrible experience, up in London, brought into the office. My 2 big racing bosses came in with me, which was lovely of them, they didn't have to. They came in with me, and we walked out, and I said in the sacking process, I said, look, we can just change this so simply, and they said, well, someone just doesn't want you to do that, you've got to go. And my racing bosses came out and they said to me, look, we can't believe what has just happened, but sport is different to celeb. I hate using that word, but effectively Dancing on Ice is considered celeb. And they just said, we support you 100%, nothing changes with the racing, come back. But on a personal level, you know, and my kid, Coco, she doesn't obviously quite realise the catastrophic thing that was going on in my head. One of the worst words she said to me before I went off to Dancing on Ice, in which we had a full rehearsal in the afternoon, and I did in the evening exactly the same as the full rehearsal. She said to me, "Good luck on Dancing on Ice, Dad." We had this ongoing joke, and she still says to me occasionally, "Good luck on Dancing on Ice, Dad." It's horrible, but yeah, it was. Look, it's. I've had none of it's been a gift. Like from the very start, from being on the independent, working through, getting sacked from the tote, not being wanted for an interview on At the Races, I battled away, and as I say, I say what I see, and I hope that, on a serious note to end with, perhaps, the affordability is a disgrace. Punters are being treated so badly, and the sport is being ruined for no reason. And I just hope that changes at some point, because the world is going crazy in so many ways, and this is just the latest, where you just get left thinking, how did that happen?
Well, Matt Chapman, thank you very much.